Okay, today I would like to talk a little bit about bacteria. We have a lot of topics as such in the internet and YouTube. Everybody has his own conclusion, but I will attempt today to bring a different kind of conclusion. Now, one of the problems of understanding anything is the concept of time. It is easy to tell you, for example, that bacteria have been here for the last 3,500 million years. Now, like everyone else, you will take that piece of information and you will put it in a theoretical drawer in your head, and according to that you will deal with the information I'm telling you. But if you were able to sit there and truly look for 3,500 million years about the evolution of something so small or big or whatever it is, you will be able to understand that there's a completely different way to see things as they are cooked, pressured into a certain kind of entity that is beyond our theoretical abilities as human beings to understand things. 3,500 million years is a number. Nevertheless, if I could let go of such number and really just try, because no one can do that, not even I, to fathom, to let go, to widen my ability to understand what happened, then, only then, I will be able to see a completely different point of view. Why I stress that point very much? It is simply because why would bacteria be the first dominant thing? Why would it survive such an amazing time? Why would it survive such amazing catastrophes? Whether it was the ice age, whether it was the volcanoes, whether it was the methane in the air. Why would it do that? And why we simply could not do a bit of that? The time that we had survived is only 100,000 years, 200,000 years, where we became more or less humans. Yes, I know that 4.4 million years, the first transition between ape and man took place. Nevertheless, the true understanding of how we became humans, incorporating art, culture, a kind of understanding of agriculture, a kind of understanding of hunting, all these characteristics that made us humans only took place around 100, 200,000 years ago. So, if compared to the life of bacteria, this is like as such. If I extend my arm like this, and extend my arm like this, that is the span of the life of bacteria. And now if I come and I simply scratch the surface of my nail, that is the span of our lives as the humans. Then, how on earth we could consider bacteria as our enemy? How on earth we could see that something who became much more before us constitutes threat? I mean, this is the whole wrong concept. We are trying to kill something that had been much more of reason to exist than we. It does not seem logical. So I'm trying here to make a complete different understanding that bacteria, like my girlfriend said one day, is God. The idea is that when we say it is God, it means it is the dominator, it is the balance, it is the line along which everything else in the world will take place according to certain projection it does upon that line. The point I would like to tell you here is that bacteria lives within us. But why would it live? I could understand, for example, if it lived within us within a certain number, like having it as a host. But when I'm constituted of only 10 trillion, just 10 trillion cells, and that constitutes all the cells in my body, liver, pancreas, bone, thigh, you name it. While the bacteria is actually 100 trillion. It does not make sense. Who lives in home? I mean, if I am having 10 trillion cells of bacteria within me, I wonder, did that bacteria took me to become a vehicle, a way of transportation, a box, a harvesting media for it to live? Or did I really took that bacteria and I have it as such for me to live? Well, actually it is a balance, but the amount and the number is actually very great. Even the genome that we have around 20,000 genetic informations. They have 2 million if we put them together. We are one cell, one unicellular organ, while they are between 5,000 to 10,000 different organs. So we have to understand now something very important after this long prelude. I had a cut, or I ate something poisonous, or I am having one of those stupid injections for yellow fever, whatever it is. Then what happens actually is that at that point, let's take a cut. The bacteria comes inside, but it does not make a move. It waits, and it waits. What bacteria does is simply it waits a certain time, half an hour, and then through this half an hour it divides into two, and then it multiplies. And it goes on multiplying and multiplying. Now, many of the scholars, scientists will say that they wait to become strong enough to attack. No, that is a misconception. Let me tell you why they wait. Now, outside my body, in this world, there is hundreds or thousands of kinds of bacteria. And they all have one single method of connection. One single molecule they made. And that molecule have actually 5 carbon atoms and 4 of oxygen and 2 of hydrogen. Why carbon, oxygen and hydrogen? These were the first elements that created the world from the beginning. This is why it has to be those elements. It's not just haphazardly. So whenever you want to know what does an element means, go back to the periodic table and see how new that element is, and this is more or less will be connected to us, and how old that element came in. And we know, all of us, maybe not all of us, that hydrogen was the first element that ever came into the universe from the first Big Bang. And from there, it came in. Then we had the carbon, we have nitrogen, we have oxygen, we have all of this. Nevertheless, these primary elements, which is carbon and oxygen and hydrogen, are the primary elements that came to the world. And that's why those bacteria found out one single code to connect with each other. It's amazing that hundreds or thousands of bacteria having one single code. But what does it mean? It means that those bacteria, they found out an amazing way of living, an amazing way not to dominate the world, of how the world should be. We are missing something important here. I'm going to come to that in a minute, but my mind sometimes goes around. Nevertheless, if they found out that way of connecting with each other, that means that they came to the world as it is their world. Whatever will come after that into that world, it has to be under certain conditions that they dictate. Because I'm sitting here, there's a camera, we made the camera, we had the microphone, blah, blah, blah. We think we are the center of the world. No, we are not. That is again a misconception. 30% of all population of the world are killed by bacteria. How alarming is that? We should protect ourselves. 30% of us, but hey, 30% of animals as well, 30% of plants as well. We are not the center of the world. So if I come back again to explain what happens when the bacteria comes to my body, it is simply as such. They come and they wait. Now look, listen very carefully. They wait because through connecting with the bacteria that is inside, which are friends with, which they know with, They ask, so what is the position? What is the state of this body? And now, that connection of the bacteria I have in my guts with my immune system, we have to understand that there is a very strong interrelationship between those two, and between all the neurons and the nerves and the signals in my head, all the nerve transmitters as well in my head. That connection is an information, is a code all the time in my body. All the time it's there. So when the bacteria comes inside, it asks, tak, 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 tell me, what is this organism, this organ, this huge body that I came inside, what is its state? Does it fit with the commandments that I came with? Does it fit with the survival measures that I, the bacteria, 3,500 million years ago came with? Does that organ is accepted does it accept those commandments? Does it live up to that? Is that organ still a place where I, the bacteria, can live in and prosper or not? Now, if it is not, it will attack. Attack. Hey, wait. Let me rephrase. If it is not, I have to erase something that came to the world much newer than I came, so that the whole world keep on a balance. That's a completely different way of understanding bacteria. It is not here to destroy us, it is here to make a balance. We live under its umbrella. We live in its domain, in its world. And bombarding the world with antibiotic, killing bacteria, does not at all make any sense. We had flooded the waters, flooded the fields, the air, with antibiotics all over, flooded them. Did we kill anything? Let me explain to you one thing. Each 10 days of my life as a human being is equal to 500 generations of bacteria. Look how fast they go. This is why whenever we give an antibiotic, what is an antibiotic? It's protein, a lipid that I take inside, and this bacteria, which is like a cell, it had these 3 layers of the cellular wall, and every time it had to take care that that cellular wall is in good condition, strong enough. It will resist attacks. So it have all the time a certain lipid that goes around and see where is a defect, where is a place, a point in that wall that is threatened to break down, and it fits it in. It breaks, it goes inside and it builds it in. It finds out what are the missing peptides, and poof, it supplies it in, and thus constantly goes around the cellular wall to find out where are these missing points, and then it helps to regenerate it, to reconstruct it. The antibiotic is simply a simple as well protein that comes inside, and then it finds out where that lipid attach itself to the cell wall, and through this attachment, it changes one molecule, and suddenly that lipid is no longer functional, and thus in this way the bacterial wall will break, and the bacteria will burst, and it will die. We were very happy with making antibiotics, until suddenly the bacteria thought, whoops, what is this small silly human being is doing? He wants to break down that peptide that I made to repair. I will make hundreds of other peptides. And that is how bacteria become resistant. It finds out a simple, idiotic maneuver, human maneuver, to block the entire path of life. Not bacteria. Let's not anymore call it bacteria. This is the primordial organs of life. The primordial organisms of life. Now, how can I, that little bitty small thing that came only 200,000 years ago, be able to change incredible amount of information that those bacteria had assembled through 3,500 million years? There's no way possible. We are just fighting the wrong fight. We are bombarding our heads against the wrong wall instead of making peace with them. Wait, I just remembered. You know that only 1% of bacteria is harmful? Whoops. I mean, if there is 1% of my human population is harmful, should I put everybody else in jail? Should I make rules and laws to dominate and erase the rest according to 1%? No, we do not do that. And it's the same thing with the bacteria world. We cannot judge bacteria accordingly when we know only it's 1%. All the others are integration. They are projection of life itself. The entire reason of the Big Bang projects itself through waves that are taking place right now in this world of ours, on this earth of ours. And it starts with bacteria. So, it is no way that we can produce in labs antibiotics, which on the long run, you know what will happen? You know what will do that your scientists are not telling you? Now listen to this word that I was going to say. It will render bacteria on this earth aimless. It will simply confuse it. If all the time bacteria have to fight what we are putting and injecting into the world, it will lose its main goal, its main mission on earth, to keep balance between every single living item. And at one point when it finds out that we are doing more and more damage to it, it will simply erase us. Because it is not possible that we can really fight against something like that, and not even possible to understand why would we fight. You see, one of the things that bacteria does when it comes into this waiting stage when it comes outside, there's something called quorum sensor. A quorum sensor is a protein that the bacteria will start to project and eject when they come. But it will not take place, it will not take action unless enough saturation, enough amount of that protein will take place, and suddenly the entire community of bacteria make a decision what to do. And now this is the highest form of life, a community. We are so happy that we have a nucleus and we have a ribosome and we have a mitochondria and we have this and that. We think it's so much complicated. On the contrary, they found out that the simplicity is the best way to survive. Actually, no. Let me rephrase. They found out that simplicity is the law of the world. Simplicity is the original mission of the world, of this earth. Nothing else. We are simply a prototype that is not yet perfected. We come and we go, like so many others did and come out. And if we could have a chance to survive, it is by making peace with this bacteria. Many, for example, women, they have bacterial infection. And now the people think, why? Why would nature create the anal or the anus just right beside the vagina? And why E. coli, which is a very harmless bacteria within the intestine, would make an infection in the urinary bladder? Because they look at this in this time. They look at this in this point. Let's go 10,000, 20,000, 30, 50,000. At that time, when things were not very hygienic as we have, E. coli would go out from the anus and to the vagina and inside the urinary tract, and it would not do anything. It found that there is some exceptions. There was some sort of balance within the body. A certain kind of community where the bacteria would be able to understand and give some sort of exception, some sort of a loose rope for others to pass through without damaging. Now, they can't pass through. Now, whenever the E. coli comes inside, it makes a pod, it makes some sort of a blister within that is impregnable. The immune system cannot fight it, cannot even attack it. And when it explodes, only then the macrophages and the neutrophils and the T cells and the B cells, all of that will start to come to attack and to eat and whatever. And yet, they found out they can't even do it. Why? Because the E. coli, which is usually a cylindrical form of bacteria, changes and becomes like a spaghetti form of bacteria. And if you look at it in the microscope, you find out that the macrophages and the immune system is unable. It tries again and again and again and again, constantly, to swallow it, but it cannot. It changes itself from that to that. Why? Because once we urinate, we will flush everything else. They have to have appendages. They have to strengthen themselves, stretch themselves to be able to hang to the urinary bladder wall so that they will not be flushed out. But all these things, because we had thought of them, we had looked at them within a microscope, within the last 100 years only, a drop in the ocean of knowledge. We think this is how it was all the time. No. Again, I come back to the beginning of this video. Time conception. The concept of time. That's truly a very different, hard, almost impossible task to take place. It takes all this time to cook something, to bring life. We have to stop looking at things only according to where we are living in now. We have to stop to look at bacteria as bacteria and look at it as the most amazing form of life that ever took place and learn from it. Learn communication at least. Look at the wars. Look at the violence we had created. Why? Because we had still thinking that I and you and he and she, my country, your country, my flag, your flag, my football team, your football team, and it goes on and on and on. Without really understanding that the only way to be happy is through communication. People ask me why I have the best girlfriend in the world, because we communicate. I could talk and my words will fall down, not as feathers or dry leaves, but as rigid stones that could make and take structure. And that's what we lack. We had divided everything into norms and into definitions and into speeches and into words, but at the end we lost the totality of understanding things. I hope, of course later on I will put more to describe what really goes on. But I just want you to understand the summary of this video, that bacteria comes not to attack. It comes to find out whether we are worthy of being or not. If we are not worthy of being, let us go. And a better form of life would come. They are the regulators of life, not us. And if we die, we have to. It's the natural selection. If we can understand that, then I think the entire industry of creating antibiotics will stop, and we will have a complete different industry of how to make friendship, how to listen, and how to really, truly understand true totality. Thank you for watching.